day after day. Would you like to know what designs and videos are working? Would you like to capture the attention of 85% of pinners using mobile? That's right, I said 85% now. We're going to talk about that. Hello, folks. I am Jeff C. of Manly Pinterest Tips, and I'm here with the lovely and super smart Elisa Meredith. Happy to have you all on. Please add your comments and questions down below, and we'll pull in as many as you can. And if you would do me a favor and sprinkle the love across the internet, and we would really appreciate that. That helps us get this show out. And as we're going along today, if you hear, especially Elisa, because she does it all the time, sometimes we want you to put the hashtag Tailwind Tips, and you can be entered to win this awesome selfie, Tailwind selfie light that we all love and use almost every day. So add hashtag Tailwind Tips as we're going along the show today. Once Elisa drops a fount of information that she always does, and that lets us pull it up, enter you in the drawing to win this awesome Tailwind selfie light. But
or make your own Tailwind tips.
Yes, exactly right, because sometimes you guys know a lot more than we do. We love it when you guys add your own Tailwind tip, hashtag Tailwind tip, as we're going along through the show today. And as always, we would love for you to go to bit.ly/Pinterest Toolkit, where you can find 16 free, that's right, free templates to use in Photoshop files or in easel, or just use for inspiration. And this is based on what Pinterest says works. So make sure you go to bit.ly/Pinterest Toolkit. That's all lowercase, all smashed together. And go sign up for that, because it's really, really cool. I use it and I love it. And I know Elisa's probably spent a lot of time on it. So make her feel good by going and downloading that. And she will love you forever. So we've got some interesting things we're going to be talking about today, Elisa. Yeah. So how have you been?
Yeah. Hey, good. It got cold here, so I'm sitting here with my cat mug and my sweatshirt on. How about you?
It's very cold in Texas as well. So, and we don't know what to do. Whenever we get a dusting of snow, all the milk and eggs are gone from the store, and the bread, and I guess they're all making French toast, because I can't figure out what they're doing. But they
School's closed down for a week.
Yes, they just do not understand it. So, but we're okay. But we're going to be talking today all about how to, making pins great for mobile. And I teased at the beginning of this section that there's a new stat out that 85% of pinners are using it on their mobile devices. And so we're going to be talking about all that today. But we want you to stay tuned, because we have an amazing breaking news straight out of Pinterest that's really kind of, I haven't seen anywhere on the interwebs, and it's going to make a big difference to everybody watching who's using Pinterest. So stick around, because we'll get to that shortly, but it is a big deal. So
it's a very big deal. In fact, we have two people from customer success, Gianni and Sarah, are in the wings, just waiting for us to let them come on to show you how Tailwind is going to make this thing that we'll talk about even better. But Jeff, this was your topic this week, and I'm glad you came up with it, because we've talked about images before to some extent, but I was on the Pinterest Academy this week, getting some really cool tips. So
explain what the Pinterest Academy is. Like, that sounds like, what is that? I mean, is that a school you went to for Pinterest? What are you talking about?
It is.
Let people know what it is. Yes,
I flunked out, but it is Pinterest's own learning platform. It's kind of cool. It looks like they're set up to actually have scoring. And you have to agree, if you sign up with a business email and you put in your employer, you have to agree to let Pinterest share your grade with your employer, which I think is funny. It's just the platform that they're using. There are no grades, but it's like, I think they could get to a point where at some point you have certification, which would be really cool. But for right now, it's just like lessons, and you basically scroll through the lessons, which are kind of slick. But I also noticed that if you do decide to use it, pay attention to your navigation, because if you scroll down with your mouse, you could skip a whole section. So try. Yes. Did you see that too?
Because it's not. I liked it because I don't have to watch an entire video.
Right.
So it's like when you scroll down, it kind of does like the next page or the next thing on it. So you can scroll back and forth and reread stuff and see what the examples are. I liked it because, one, I didn't have to sit through a whole video, and I could still see really cool examples in it, and it was still interactive. So I thought it was kind of a genius way for Pinterest to do that. So
Me too. Me too. But watch your navigation. So try your right arrow, left arrow, down, up. The mouse is a little trickier. I missed some of the details the first time through, but yeah, I love it. It's that it takes like 3 minutes and it gives you some really great inspiration for what is working in pins. And I just love their examples of what of like a modern and engaging pin. Because I think sometimes we get a little stuck. We get a little stuck in our designs and our templates. Of course, not with the Pinterest toolkit from Tailwind. That will also help you get kind of out of that rut. But yeah, so looking through and
I was just going to say, I want to do some shout outs really quick. We have some people joining that I wanted to make sure that we said hi to. We've got Sandra is actually coming in from YouTube, and she goes, hey guys. Hey Sandra, thank you for showing up. And we have straight from Oklahoma, which is always nice from for Tailwind people. It's April is here, and she's from Banana Moon Studio here in Oklahoma. So that's very cool. I haven't heard of Banana. That is a cool name. I really like that. And also Kenna is here also. So we want to say hi to all these people. Thanks for watching. Hola. And we even have I want to pull this up because I love it when we get international people. We have Holly from Germany. So thank you for watching from all the way from Germany. That's very, very cool. Helen from the UK is with us as well. David from Bigwood, Texas. Thanks, guys, so much for chiming in and watching the show. We really appreciate this. There are always some questions like, hey, can we watch this as a replay? Yes, you can. It's going to be, as soon as we're done here, you can watch it again on Facebook, and you can also watch it on our YouTube channel. So you can watch it and rewind Elisa's super smart sayings as many times as you want and replay those. So make sure to do that. So let's jump right in. So and if you have questions for going, make sure you drop them below, and we'll try to pull those up as we're going along as well. So Pinterest Academy.
Okay, Pinterest Academy. The lesson that I have liked the best so far is the creative strategy one. That's probably the one that you looked at as well. What I really liked about it is that they start out with the key elements to your pin, and they listed those as branding, verticality, obviously, text overlay, and a great image or video. So if you start out with those, you have you're got a good head start. But then the way to kind of make your pin stand out more, they mentioned compelling imagery. So you and I have talked about this several times about when you use, especially if you use stock images, it can start to look like your pin is the same as everybody else's. But their suggestion was try a different angle. So this works best if you can take your own photos and just take it like an unexpected angle that just is really eye-catching. But even in a stock image, like you can zoom in on a certain area, rotate.
And so a lot of people, and I've said this before, and you mentioned that in my talks, is like always try to get the biggest size that you can afford if you're buying stock photos, because that way it gives you abilities to, like you said, zoom in or crop in and rotate. Because remember, and a lot of people try to get the cheapest one they can, it's like the smallest size. But when you spend a little more, you have more options where you can, like I said, zoom in, because you can always take images smaller. But if you take a small image and pull it bigger, a lot of times it'll pixelate and look nasty. And one of the things they did say in this Pinterest Academy is the importance of clean, crisp images and how important that is, because it's such a visual platform. You really want all of your content to pop.
Yeah, no blurry, unprofessional looking, poorly lit images. Absolutely. So another thing kind of related to that is keep it streamlined. So no clutter.
Which is hard for some people. They like to put as much text as they can or as many images as they can. One of the things that I did find interesting, they did say to have multiple images if you do it in the right type of way. Not you don't want to, like you said, don't be cluttered, but they were talking about those multiple images, which I thought was a great way. If you're doing a photo shoot, you can have multiple images of the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Or the one layout that I really liked it was just the image was divided into 4 quadrants, and then there was the text in the very middle. And it's a great way to show people a variety of things. So Like you get one shot to show people what you have.
Right.
show them a variety.
And Kim Garson and I are always talking about what can you do to make them stop the scroll. So, because in Pinterest, like feels, like Instagram, super fast, and what you need to think about what is going to make those people stop. So
yeah, and Pinterest even says that having multiple products or a variety of products in your image leads to higher engagement. So yeah, they also say lifestyle photos, of course, over strict product photos tend to work better. I don't think there's any harm in having both, but I do believe that about the lifestyle photos for sure. Yeah, text on image. You mentioned that a little bit. Keep it short. So sometimes it feels like the whole thing is covered in text, and that's just it's just too much.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know we say to do a call to action, and we say to make really descriptive image, and now that Pinterest can read your text, people are like, oh, the more text I have, the better search I have. I think I can see where they're thinking, but Pinterest went out and said no, very clear. They were I was surprised how strict of examples they gave inside of the Pinterest Academy of small amount of text. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and then they had some that were a little bit more text, but I think overall, if you can keep it short and think every single word in there, is this absolutely necessary? And if it's not, cut it out. And I think sometimes we default to whatever our blog post title or whatever the product title is, but that's not always the best way. It could be a lot shorter and snappier and more eye-catching if you just use just a few words, which I'm going to be experimenting with. I don't know if you're going to try that, but
I try everything, Lisa.
You try everything.
I mess around. They probably hate me on Pinterest because I'm trying weird stuff over there. So you don't want to. You don't
we
look
should
at
have a whole show about that.
It'd probably be really bad. Yeah. So I try whatever I can think of. So.
Okay. Well, the thing that really got me most excited and feeling like, ooh, I need to go make some new pins was the section on typography. So normally, I think when we think about putting text on image and we think about title caps, right? So capitalizing all the letters like you would in a blog post, and just having it maybe having a heading and a subheading at the very most, but that's real old school, right? And they gave some examples that were just beautiful. I don't know if you can pull those up real quick.
Yeah, let me switch over to those really quick. So this is one we wanted to talk about. One, because we are always talking about how not to have scripty fonts. And bam, right in there, one of their examples, they have a scripty font. So what do you say about that, Elisa?
I say that I would be concerned that Pinterest may not read that text properly. And I think gin cocktail recipe is like the key word there.
Yeah.
So if I were going to do scripty text, it would not be those words.
Right. So I want to, after we get done showing some of the examples, I want to bump back because this makes a big deal on mobile devices. Yes. And so we have some, they came with that new stat. So I want to, after we're done showing these, I want to jump back to what those, kind of some things about the stats, because I think that's relevant. So what about the other one? So let's ignore the front and center one.
I mean, that is a beautiful pen.
And I can't read the text. That's my.
I know. Yeah. Even on your computer, you can't. So on your phone, I think it would be harder. I think the point here is that it's beautiful. It's eye-catching.
The photography is great. The text on Pinterest, really, you're just wrong. So I'll say it.
Okay. I still think it's super pretty. And if we could change it out and make the scripty text for holiday hosting, or even discover the best, that would be better than the gin cocktail recipes. Yeah. But these are beautiful. I'm not a real fan of that home reimagined font. It's just a personal thing. But the other thing, like when your puppy is cuter than he smells, that's an adorable headline. Just super cute. But I can't read that subtext. It might just be me. But I think one of the things they recommended, which I think is really smart, is to save your pins to a secret board.
Yes.
And then pull them up on your phone.
That is genius, because I've been saying to test it on your mobile device that way, not as a secret board, but make sure you're testing them, and that's a very practical way. So if you have these, and make sure you put them on a board and do all the tests to make sure that, because it looks a lot different designing in Photoshop or Canva on your desktop than then when you put them on And you want to make sure, I mean, some people don't have the big monster phones that, you know, the big phablets or whatever they are, that
Yeah.
they have the small little iPhones and you got to make sure those look good on there. Now, I do want to, like you said, how beautiful the images are. So I want to just look how one of them, how they have creatively used the layout where they can put text. So they shot it in a way and they cropped the image so it's perfectly situated where you have a spot in the image on a background with text. So like if you took the text away, it would look kind of weird because it would just be a big blank space. But the way they did that for all those photos, especially I really like the contrast with the puppy one, because you can, that just really is, it really focuses the eye on the puppy. I just think the way they do that is something we all could learn and really try to think about in a photography. And you can even do this with stock photos. A lot of the stock photos you can find online have spots where you can creatively put text. So I think this is really important to point out.
Yeah, that's a great point. And when you're taking your own photos, like this puppy one, the image of the puppy in the laundry basket is it's less than a halfway up the image is what, you know, the actual image is. And then the rest of it is just white space for your text. So definitely think about that when you're taking your images. And then the color, the green color just really pops. I also like the Equinox one, which we can't see the whole thing of, but it's just like, it's just two ladies working out, and it looks like there's a little bit of a filter over it. So they're a little bit in the background kind of.
Right.
And the text is just Equinox, and then whatever it says underneath, I can't read, but I think that's all it needs to say. Like it doesn't have to say a great workout. Like you can tell.
Right. And the next example that they gave that we show points that out pretty clearly on the text. So you want to go ahead and pull that one up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
This is super. I love this one. I think this is beautiful. And it's so simple. It's just a lady with her nails painted blue with her, like her hands on her cheek. And it just says, like, there's branding at the top, the beauty shop, which I would probably put in the middle of the top just because of Pinterest elements that might cover over it. But then the only text is just spraying nails. And it is written in, like, it's not a stark white. It's not black. It's like this soft color. It's all lowercase. It's beautiful.
And the thing that gets me is I would, as a designer, pick the second one, the one that says it's X'd out because of the contrast. And it you know, you can see the text better. But they specifically said in the Pinterest Academy not to do what normal design layout is supposed to do. They specifically said that, and I was kind of like, okay. You know, because to me, at the top on her forehead, the beauty shop text is, you can barely read it. But they said, I can understand it because that's their branding. I mean, it's not a keyword or something like that. So we want to be clear about that. They're using that beauty shop as a fill-in for a logo or the company.
Or it might actually be one. I don't know.
Yeah. So it just, the biggest thing that I learned from this is that it's simple and simplified. What are you laughing about?
I'm just laughing because I'm hearing your mind being blown right now.
Well, it is, because to me it makes sense that you have contrast more than just white text on an image, and I'm like,
you're right, but to me, the one on the right that they have X'd out there, you know, it's got that traditional bar across the bottom, which is matched to the fingernails in the picture with white text, perfect nails and big text, right, and then the smaller text underneath. That we have seen that a million times, and the one on the left is just so simple and beautiful,
and it's cleaner.
And it really it's cleaner. It puts more attention on the product, which would be the nails,
right?
And it's beautiful, and I feel like I want to just go try that on everything.
That color or the nails, or actually
the
pin?
Like the different typography to me is just kind of, why didn't I think of that kind of thing?
And so we want to make sure that you guys go and check out the Pinterest Academy because it's really, really cool. I really like what they're saying about the video pins. They had some great examples from like Absolute Vodka and some other, and Stella, which, you know, it's alcohol. It's got to be good. And so, but they were showing that, and I thought the way they were explaining it. So make sure you guys go check that out. And if you want some great templates like what we're talking about, don't forget to go to bit.ly/Pinterest Toolkit, where we have 16 examples and PSD files that Isel, who if you want a clean aesthetic, you need to go check out Easel because they do some really great stuff. They have their designers and their templates, and how many templates they are like putting out there are great. So we partnered with them for some of these templates, and they're amazing. Yep. So make sure to go to bit.ly/Pinterest Toolkit. So I do want to talk about what we kind of led with, this new number they're dropping about 85%, because we're just showing some of these great examples of what Pinterest Academy was saying, but it's even more and more important because of the mobile aspect. So there were some amazing stats, like if you had a call to action on an image and in a description, you get like 6% more sales. And I'm just like, wow. So this text needs to be clear on mobile because of this 85% they're throwing out there.
I know, you're right. Yep. And I think like just some of those basic things, they work across all platforms, but obviously you're going to get most of your impressions on mobile. So things like consistency from pin to page, I would expand that and say, just please make sure your site is working on mobile today. Like maybe it was a year ago, but just test it, right? Because if it's not, people are just going to bounce, which is not good for anybody. Right. And then we've talked a lot about seasonality recently in this season, it seems like, but that can boost your online sales 20%. So definitely worth doing.
And so this next one, and we had a debate about this, and I still am trying to get my mind around this. If you add a price on your pin, you get 28% more sales. And this is on like the text overlay, not the rich pin data, which to me, I'm just like, well, then if I lower the price, then I'm in trouble. And so that controversy just, I'm not sure what to do on that.
I would love to hear what our audience feels about that. Like, have you ever tried it? Would you ever try it?
Yeah, who in our audience has actually gone and actually put like price? I call it burnt in. Like it's burnt in the image. It's not automatic that it changes like with a rich pin. How many people have tried that, and what do you guys think about that? Because once that's out there, my feeling is if somebody clicked on something that said $29.99 and they come back later and it's $35, they're like, what? I was tricked. I mean, that's how I would feel because I'm such a cheapskate. But, anymore, it's crazy. So, let me see what were you going to say, Elise? I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say that you gave us a great segue into video, and then we veered off. But I think that's really important to talk about whether on mobile or desktop, video is just eye catching.
Right.
So some of the ideas to make it work better. We're also in that what do we call that? Creative strategy lesson. Yeah. What did you mentioned? Was it a vodka company?
Yeah, Absolute Vodka, and then the Stella beer was the other one that they had for examples, and they were really
beautiful.
But they were very simple but very clean. So that whole aesthetic that we're talking about, they're really pushing that kind of feeling out. Let me see. There was a great comment. Oh, this is great from Jeff, and I want to pull this up. Okay. He's got a great name, by the way, too. He goes, they want your pins to look like magazine pages. Yes. It's about it's clean and looks more professional. And I think that is key, Jeff, that you hit the nail right on the head, that they're wanting to have that really nice kind of glossy look to it, because I think those are performing better.
That's a great way to put it, and I think it's almost like just a pared down magazine cover, even.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
That strong text.
Yeah, wow. But the cleanness and how they're drawing the eye to certain certain parts of the image, like we showed at the beginning with the puppy and some of the other ones. I think that's really good. So we have some answers of our people on pricing. Good. So let me pull those up. So Allison, she goes, nope. My prices change often. And see, I think that's my thing. And our good friend Laura, who is a longtime viewer, and she always has some great comments. She goes, never tried it, but I have the same concern as Jeff. Thank you, Laura. And I think it's a little overtly salesy. So what do you think about that? That it might be a little too pushy for some people?
I do sometimes wonder when we get these tips from Pinterest, if sometimes they think promoted first as opposed to organic pin.
Right.
And I think it makes a lot of sense to have a price on a promoted pin, because you do not want someone to click on something they think is going to be $10 and they like just because they're guessing by the image or whatever it is, and then they get to your site and you've paid for that click and it's $50. They bounce off and you've paid for these clicks for people who like don't see the value in your product. So it's like it's a good way to qualify people with a promoted pin, but I do agree it's a little bit risky, unless you sell one of a kind items,
like on Etsy or something like that, maybe.
Like on Etsy, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, Maria says this. She goes, once I put the price because it was the title of my client's blog post, and then it doubled. And it's like, see, that's what I worry about. Now, a promoted campaign is, I think, like you said, is totally different. And sometimes I wonder if Pinterest, you kind of, they think promoted first. Sometimes I wonder if they make suggestions because that's what they want to happen and not what it actually is. I mean, that's one of the things I worry about.
Yeah. Yeah. And they might just not specify that, oh, this is probably better for promoted than organic. And they kind of leave that up to us to figure out, which I think we kind of have. It's probably better for promoted.
Now, Nicole says she's done it. She's added pricing. And Nicole, if you can, let us know how that worked out. Did you notice an increase? They're saying like 20%. We would love to know if you thought that was a good strategy. And Dinah says this. She goes, it really doesn't come off that way when we're talking about kind of pushy, unless it's something like a really great deal, like for Black Friday, which I thought was very, very good. So, and Nina even has a great, maybe kind of workaround. She goes, why not use an asterisk by the price and state for a limited time only? Use scarcity marketing. That's kind of cool. That's kind of a good idea. I like that idea a lot. To see if that would work. That's one of those weird things I'll test on my Pinterest account. Yeah, that's really cool.
I would not have thought of that. Thank you, Nina. And I think if you did that, then you could, once the sale price had expired, you could then update that page to be like, oh, you missed the deal, but here's another great deal, and redirect it. Right. Yeah. Very cool. Redirects are your friend.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for doing that. My whole thing was too, is like, I don't want to, we're always talking about on images, like if you're having it to a blog post, make sure that it has the same kind of look and feel when they click through your blog post, that they don't feel like they're going to spam or the wrong place. And that's what I feel like when they have a price that would be, out of date. They're like, what? I'm not going to pay. Unless it goes down, maybe that would be better, but I don't know. Maybe it's like, yes, I saved $2 or something. That might be better, but the other way is usually probably how it goes. Risky. Yeah. So what's some other things about this mobile thing you want to point out as we move on?
Okay, so about video. So one of my videos that I put on Pinterest, the first shot when it first opens is black. It's completely blank. It was a total mistake. Don't do that. So lead with a compelling visual, right? So that when it loads up and it's playing, it looks really good. Don't do what I do. But do use branding here too, which I hadn't really thought about because I'm not a video editor, so I wouldn't think about doing that. But maybe I need to get myself a tailwind sign over here that always has the branding on it. I noticed that those two examples in the creative strategy, those two video examples had branding throughout the whole video, and it was beautiful. Yeah. Okay. And where I think where video is so good for building awareness, it may not lead to as many clicks, but the awareness factor is very strong. That makes it even more important to add your branding.
Gotcha. Very cool.
So what else did you notice about that vodka?
I just like it because it was very clean, which is what they're wanting. It was very eye-catching because it was a big splash, and you could see the splash in the image, and it looked not like a normal video. I mean, it kind of was in slow motion, and it kind of moved interesting. And one of the things that I noticed, that the logo went away. It was very clean. So like the logo went away when the logo was on the bottle. They didn't have it in two places. But when the bottle left, then the logo faded back up. So they were very, very clean on how they showed that. They didn't, like you said, didn't have the text muddied with a bunch of, extra text that they didn't need. And I thought that was really cool how they were very, very aware of how much text was on that video. So it's not just for video, I mean, just for images, you want to make sure that you don't have a ton of text on your video pins as well. Now, you also want to remember that most of the time that sound isn't on. So text can be very, very important. Like they had a great example of like a learning school, and there's a kid, you know, laying down, you know, studying with their mom, and they had the because it would play without sound. They said what it was. It's like Sullivan Learning Center and da 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 da. And so that makes sense. So you wanna have a balance between, you know, what would happen if they seen this without any sound, and also not putting too much text on where it gets all muddied and too it's not pleasing to the eye, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I think wherever you can tell the story with motion and with visuals and not rely on the text on video is helpful as well.
So I want to pull up some questions so we're clear on some of this. So Lizette says this. She goes, I'm looking at mobile right now, and the price is showing in the corner of the image pulled by Pinterest from my Rich Pin.
Yeah.
So and our friend Martin says this. He goes, let's see here. He says, but Jeff C., I thought the pricing was dynamic on promoted pins, and it is. So kind of explain that a little bit.
So that's with rich pins in both cases, right? So if you do have rich pins, it will dynamically update when you update your website. But what Pinterest was specifically talking about in the webinar, which I'll put a link to that webinar that I refer to all the time because it's really good, is having the price actually on the image, which it's a bold move. The example that they give was a meal service, like a meal delivery service. I can't remember which one it was, but it said like $3.33 a meal. It was like very explicit that it's on the pin image itself. But we've talked about before, we do think that rich pin price is a good compromise if you're afraid to put it on the image. Yeah.
So those are some tips on, you know, optimizing for mobile. So clean images, not too much text. What else?
But video, like the people always wonder the length for video on Pinterest. Ideally, you want between 15 and 30 seconds.
And I've really found that works the best too. And like your point about making sure your thumbnail that you select it so it's not a blank screen, because that's kind of odd. And I've had some things kind of glitchy with Pinterest that for some reason I'll upload it and it'll say it's okay, and then the video will still be a static image. It won't be a pin, and it's really weird. So always go back and double check them and take them down if they're not working correctly. The only long-term ones I think would work is like some of the Tasty Mades where they're actually doing like recipes and stuff.
Yeah,
those make sense to me, but I don't think you should take a whole Facebook Live or your entire podcast or whatever and put that up as a video pin. I would rather see you slice it up and use it that way.
Yeah, I mean, people are on Pinterest to learn something or find something quickly, and I don't think they have the patience for a long video. But you do want to pay special attention to your description and your title of your video, just to give Pinterest more context about how to display it in search and what it's about.
And Jeff brought up a great point. He goes, you can check just your video analytics now too, which is really cool.
Love that tab.
You can see how many people, you know, it's been the impressions. You can see what the time people are seeing. That's really a key to me. So like if I have a 30-second video and I only see they're watching for 6 seconds, then I'm like, okay, what am I doing that I need to change it at that 6-second mark, or what can I do to optimize that? And so there's some things you can tweak, and you can try different ones. Like in seasonal, like we've talked about this before, I did a Halloween one and it did really well and people watched most of it through, and I'm like, okay,
cool.
What made that pin work better than some of my other ones? And so that analytics that they're allowing you to have is really pretty cool.
It is. I was surprised at how much view time we were getting, but it's funny that you mentioned 6 seconds because it seems to me that was the average that I was getting, and I probably need to work on that.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
It's don't let it hurt your feelings, but just try and see what else. I mean, there's some reason they're leaving after 6 seconds. Is it that not? Yeah. Do we need to have another like flash? Because I'm experimenting with like, do I need to like surprise them again at 6 seconds? Like every 6 seconds, do like something that pops. You know, so who knows? So I'm gonna.
Okay, so if anyone else is seeing a lot of 6 second views, we'd love to know, because maybe that is like the average time when you should switch it up, like cause some kind of disruptor. That would be cool. Yeah.
Cool. So, are we ready for our breaking news? Because I think but I want to
we're
bring up this
ready.
comment because
What?
no, this goes right into
What?
it. Okay.
Phew.
So,
Yes.
this is what Debbie says. She goes, "Is there something new with pin titles? All my pins are failing on Tailwind, saying I need to add titles." We're going to talk about that right now. So let me bring in
Yes.
our special guest.
Well, let me
Okay.
talk a little bit about why we did this. So you might have noticed on Pinterest that when you upload a pin, the biggest, most prominent field is add your pin title. Well, Pinterest really wants that. So soon, when we don't have a day, time, hour, or minute, you will have to have a pin title on every single pin that goes to Pinterest. It's just going to be mandatory. So with that in mind, Tailwind has built that in. And the idea is it's more context, right? Pinterest wants more context for images, for videos, to help it figure out what your pin is, where it should be displayed. So there are a bunch of tips about how to write great pin titles. One of them is to think about it as a headline, right? So you don't necessarily have to repeat your blog post title, although that might be it. You definitely don't want to repeat what's in the description, because this should be added context on top of what's already in the pin description. Don't be clickbaity. In fact, don't use the word click. I think this was guidance from Pinterest not to use the word click. They will find it, and that will hurt your pin distribution. So just be really honest. Yeah, it's super spammy, and I think that they were highly aware of the fact, or the possibility for people to manipulate how their pins appear in search by doing spammy pin titles, and they're like, we're gonna figure this out. Don't do it. Just be honest, but be as thorough as you can be, but concise, right? So you have 100 characters, including spaces and hyphens, but 30 to 50 of those, it's what's most likely to show up in your feed. So front load that with the teaser part without being spammy, right? Just be honestly enticing and make it relevant. But yeah, that's what they want. So when we found that out, it was kind of like, oh boy, a whole other step for people. Well, people are gonna love that.
Right.
So let's bring Gianni and Sarah in now to talk about how we built it and how to use it and all that good stuff. Because I know there are going to be a lot of questions.
Yeah, we've already got a lot of questions. So
I bet. Great.
All right. Here we go. Again, he's the sharpest dressed man in Oklahoma City. He is an amazing customer service representative. But you've got a partner there too. We can't see her yet, so I'm going to go widescreen.
Sarah.
Yeah, there we go. There she is.
There we go.
All right. Exciting stuff.
Yes, so we are very excited to talk about pin titles today. Previously, as Elisa was saying, when you didn't enter them manually in Pinterest, it would pull from either rich pin data if you had it, or it would try to pull from your description, which sometimes it wasn't too accurate. But now, as Lisa also mentioned, all pins must have a specific title. And she kind of hinted at this is more work to do, but Tailwind has you covered. So we're super excited to be able to talk through this. Sarah's going to go into a little bit deeper dive and a little bit of a walkthrough with Jeff here in a second. So yeah, let's get to it.
All right, cool. So here's our screen. And so tell us where we're at and kind of what we need to do with this new feature.
All right. So pin titles, long awaited for Tailwind members. So when you, the page that we're on now is the drafts dashboard in your Tailwind account. So what happens when you upload or create a new pin in Tailwind, it's going to directly upload to your drafts page, and you're going to see this little section that we've added saying enter your pin title.
And it even gives you a little best practices too. That's very cool.
Yeah, check out those best practices. So again, like Elisa said, up to 100 characters. The first 30 to 35 characters are most likely to be shown during your on the actual feed in Pinterest. So make sure you cram in what you can in those first 30 to 35.
Gotcha.
So once you add your title and add it to the queue,
Well, if I can type would help. So let me see.
yeah.
So it's a little slow for me. Okay, I'll just Pinterest. I'll just do this title. So we won't take.
Awesome.
I can
Fantastic.
spell all those words, and so we just.
That's just a terrible title, Jeff.
Well, I know it's no good, but it's listen. For brevity, I'm doing this.
This is
So
an
then we.
example of what not to do.
What not to do? Do not do what Jeff does. So, so now I just click on add it to queue, right?
Add it to your queue.
Bam. Oh, I need a board.
Oh,
Yeah, you
Oh,
gotta select
see,
the board.
that's a fail-safe for goofballs like me, which is a great feature. So we're gonna put it to, what should I put it on? I thought Elise has her own board. We'll do that. So we'll do that. So add to queue. There it
Alright,
is.
So once that is sent over to your queue, if you want to go over to the schedule dashboard for me, Jeff.
Okay. Do I save changes? Let me see. Just a second. I got too many things going on my computer. So there we go. That thing has saved me that little error thing that pops up when I forget to schedule a board so many times that
Yeah.
it's amazing. So there we go.
Good.
Okay.
That's why we have it there. So once you add your pin to the queue, you'll see that there is a section right above the description section. If you want to look at that pin right at the top there, Jeff,
Where
that
is
says
it?
the easiest Tailwind guide you'll ever read.
Okay, right here.
Yep,
Well,
that
it's
first
just
one
the
at the
top one at the queue, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just that top one at the queue.
Yeah, I'm trying to skip. I've got too much things on my computer. It's hard for me to scroll right now. So this is what
Well,
happens when you.
that's where the title will show up once
Okay.
you send it over to your schedule.
Okay.
And then you can still edit the pin title here without having to send it back to drafts. So if you just
Oh.
hover over it, it'll say change pin title, just like it did for the
There it is,
change
right
the
there. Yeah.
description. Yeah.
Very cool. So,
Alright.
because we had a question earlier, somebody goes, "Oh my gosh, I got like 1,500 pins scheduled," so they could go back into this section right here and do all the new titles for it.
Absolutely. You do
Yep.
not
Okay.
have to send it back to drafts. Just make sure you go through all your scheduled pins, make sure the titles still look good. It'll save you a bunch of time from having to change them on Pinterest later. So just go ahead and check them now.
Awesome.
Oh,
So, yeah,
but
Sarah, real
here's
quick.
go ahead.
ahead.
Yep. No, you're
Well,
reading my
really
mind,
quick-
Gianni. Go.
Yeah, so my question for you was, like, what about my previously scheduled pins, like ones that have already been like published and things like that? Like, is it
Mm.
necessary to go ahead and fix all of them, or like what's?
Are you referencing Pinterest? Things that are
Yes,
already published?
yes,
Okay.
Pinterest.
You don't have to go back to Pinterest and change all your pin titles there.
Okay.
However, if you do want to change the title to something different, you can use Tailwind's scheduler extension and pull in that information, and it'll pull in that title, and you can just edit there right there in drafts.
Very cool.
Fantastic.
So,
Yeah. So
what-
so Sarah, to add to the point about, what if I have 1,500 pins scheduled, or I have pins in Smart Loop, or I have pins in Tribes? Do I have to go in and change? Like, do I have to enter manually all those pin titles?
You do not.
Oh, that's so good.
Everything will already be there. The titles from the pins will already be there.
How do we do that?
How do you do what?
How does Tailwind know what my title should be?
We actually pull it from the metadata, or look at the description that you have and pull that title in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
So we look
also
at
worth
rich pin
noting-
data.
Sorry, Elisa.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and one
so-
thing to keep in mind for those that are using that is just to verify the title, because you don't want something that's like a little bit random or whatnot. So that's just one thing to keep in mind when it is pulling it over.
so pretty much what
Yeah.
I did. Don't do it.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
do what Jeff did.
Yeah.
Never
That
do.
should-
Never.
That should
do
be the
it.
title of this show. Don't do what Jeff did. So anyway, so
Yeah.
very cool. So that's awesome, guys.
Yeah.
So,
So what I really love about this is that when you schedule on Pinterest, like, you have to enter it manually. It used to be that it would pull from rich pin data, or like Gianni said, or some other spots on your pin or on your website, it won't be long until it just won't. Like, you're going to have to enter it. But on Tailwind, we give you at least a head start. It might not be exactly what you want, but there will be pin titles on pins that go out from Tailwind, which is cool. And like Sarah mentioned, it works in the extension too, which is nice.
Very cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome.
And there is
Well,
one thing you want to keep in mind when adding your pin titles. Make sure you use specific keywords. That's really what gets that SEO for you. What pops up your pin and when everybody's searching. So make sure you use those really keywords from your description or actually your image.
Yeah.
so one thing I want to say about that. So you don't want to, like, if you have a chicken recipe, you don't want to go chicken recipe or something like that, right? I mean, you don't want to do keyword stuffing is what I'm saying.
You do not.
You do not. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you do not for a third.
So just want to make sure, because I know people were thinking that. They're like, hey, I'm gonna just use all the character. Hey, by the way, what is the character count? Is there a character count for titles?
It's 100 characters.
Okay, 100 characters. Very
Yeah,
cool.
but focus on your first 30 or so, because that's what
Okay,
will
that's gonna show up
probably
in there.
show up. Yeah, I went through and tried to find an example, like, because you don't, like you said, you don't want to repeat your pin title in your description or vice versa. So I found one pin that was like, the pin title was fashionable mid-length hairstyles for fall, medium hair ideas, and the description is identical at the beginning. So I thought, well, how could we write that in a better way? And I thought, well, what about, like, for the title, just stylish, easy mid-length updos, or medium length fall hairstyles. And like, you could change it, especially if you had multiple images in one blog post. Like, change the title and see if you can use different keywords and get people, more people to click through.
Yeah. So I got a question for Gianni. I'm going to pull this up on screen. So let you guys try to answer it. So where's the button? So Debbie asked this. She asked, so when creating pins on your website and writing the description, is there a place to put it there? Because I think they're maybe asking, a lot of third-party tools have those things built in. Those haven't probably rolled out yet. So is there a workaround, or how should, like, I know there's a lot of bloggers who watch this. How should they, do it for, like, is there a place for it on the pin it button? What are the best practices to do it now from a blog sharing perspective? Sorry, I put you on the spot.
No, that's good.
Would you just use the extension and share it
Yeah.
your first time? Okay.
Yeah, the extension would probably be the way I would go about it to do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be my answer, just using the extension for that specific problem.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I think what she
At
might
least
be
for right
thinking
now,
about as
until-
well. Oh, sorry. I think what she might be thinking about as well is, like, how do I make sure a good pin title is added to Pinterest when someone else pins my pin? And the answer is you really can't right now, unless your rich pins are enabled or you have good title data in your blog post. So think about, when you're writing your rich pin data for Pinterest, make that the headline, make that the title, because that's the way you'll get your good title onto Pinterest.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. So,
Are you getting other questions? I'm wondering,
yeah.
like, 'cause it just came out.
I will overflow you guys. So here we go. So,
Do it.
so
They're ready.
let's see here. This is a good question, I think, from Debbie. She goes, where do the titles go upon creation? So are they, like, they're a part of the pin, right, from now on, right? So they are there, built in,
Right.
and does it have anything to do with your verified site or anything like that? Like, because I know people are probably worried that somebody could hijack my pin and retitle it or something like that. Any ideas?
So
Sorry.
you were asking if someone could.
Yeah.
Did you want to answer, Johnny?
No, go for it, Lisa. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Okay. No. I just wasn't sure if you wanted to. So the pin title is that bold text you see when you do a click through on a pin, or you do a close up on a pin. It's at the very top. That's where your pin title is. It's also in the feed. It's that bold text underneath your image. Does not always appear in your feed. So if you don't see it in the feed, don't freak out. It's still there. But there was another part to that question.
She just goes, where did the title go upon creation? Where does it go?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
I
where
think
it
you answered
goes.
it. Yeah. So then, but some other people are just like Mama Joe goes, yay, it showed up for me today, so she can see it, and she also goes, such beautiful eyes. So I'm thinking that she's not talking about me, she's talking about Gianni, because that came up when he was talking. So there you go, you got a fan, Gianni.
Thank you.
So,
I appreciate that.
And I think this is a good point by Martin. She goes, it's so simple. Pinterest wants to provide the best user experience, helpful, tasteful, beautiful content. And yes, that's what we've been talking about today. So totally agree with
Great
that.
point. Yeah, it's really easy. It's a lot easier to read just a pin title rather than having the whole description like we used to have in the feed. And then we were all like, oh, it's gone. I miss it. But the pin title is like a great headline. So just think of it like it's a headline to entice people to click and make them happy when they get there.
And Maria asked this question. She goes, well, she kind of makes a statement. Titles are really good. You can see if a link is broken because it's going to say page not found. I'm loving that. Is that really what I haven't tested? Is that really what happens? I haven't seen that.
I've not seen
I
that.
haven't seen that yet, but that's fantastic.
Yeah, I know. If that's true, that's really cool.
I want to know, Maria, have you clicked on them and confirmed that that's true, or is it just pulling in something funky? I would be curious.
So here's a great question. April asked, what is the extension he mentioned? So Johnny, why don't you talk about that a little bit, what it is?
Sure. So yes, depending on what browser you use, Chrome, Firefox, and Safari are the top three that we recommend. Chrome being the one that Tailwind works the most on. You can download the Tailwind Publisher extension through Google. Once you do that, basically what that'll allow you to do is when you're hovering over Pinterest or like your website or anything like that, you'll see the little Tailwind icon, and you can click that, and what it'll do is it'll basically select that image for you and send it into your drafts so that you can basically just start adding the title, your description, anything like that that's related to your pin. And it also has a different functionality. So it's kind of hard to explain without actually showing you, but essentially what it does is it basically allows you to select images or pins and put them into your drafts straight away.
We may have to do an entire show about the extension because that's a very handy tool. So we may have to do that. So
so I just want to reiterate too that when you use the extension, it will pull in the pin title. So it's like just trying to make your workflow easier, faster, happier.
and this kind of ties into this. So Dama asked, what piece of metadata is it pulling from? HTML. So this is kind of maybe a nerdy answer. So what would you say? Where is it pulling this from? I mean, because I think they're asking like, where do I need to put this on my site so it does pull the correct data?
Well, the great thing is if you already have rich pins, you're all set. It pulls from your rich pin data first, and then it will look for other various title tags in your HTML. So there are several we look at, like Twitter title and some other things, but like rather than being super specific, because that might change over time, like rich pin data is the best. And I know a lot of people have gone through trouble to get that set up. so that's where we pull from first, because we feel like that's like your most intentional spot to put your pin titles. Cool.
So we're kind of wrapping up here because we only got a few minutes left. So ask your questions if you want them in today. One of a question that I think is really important is CA asks, will this work on Firefox as well? So they're asking about the extension, I'm pretty sure. So can you tell them what browsers the extension works with?
Yes. So the extension works on Firefox, Chrome, and Safari. Those are the top ones that I would recommend. Edge, no, you don't want to go that route.
No.
You'll run into a lot of issues. But yeah, anytime you're on Chrome, Firefox, Safari, those will work for you.
So can you tell people, like, if they're just starting with Tailwind, where they can go to like install that? Like, where can they find it to, like, click on it and install?
Yeah, the easiest way is to just Google or Firefox search or anything like that, just like the Tailwind extension, and it should be like one of the top results to click on, and then you can just download it to your Mac or PC. So
I'm going to add a little tip. If you have a Tailwind account, you can actually, and you have Chrome, or I think it's on Safari and Firefox too, there is a button on your drafts or scheduled dashboard that you can hit extension, and it'll bring up the download for you. So you can just automatically download it to your browser tools.
Yep.
Okay. And here's another question from April that you guys, the super smarties at customer service, can probably answer. Kit says, April asks, can I edit the pin title from the Tailwind extension? And I can't remember if you talked about this or not. So like if they click it, can they edit it right from there?
You sure can.
Yes, you can. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And here's a great little question too. So this one probably is for the team. They ask, Nicole asked, do you suggest updating titles of pins that are not yours or only your pins?
That is. Yeah.
That's a deep. There we go. Come on, Elisa. Elisa, I want to hear your answer to this. We've got about 5 minutes, so keep it short.
I think, yeah, okay. I think the answer would be the same as if they asked, should I change descriptions on pins that are not mine? And I say, like, why?
Right.
So I spend time on your own content that's going to lead to website traffic to your site, and then let the other creators make their best description and best pin title. I mean, unless there's always a caveat, right? Unless you're pinning it like for your own self, your own personal use, and you want to be able to spot it quickly.
Right. And it's just not good. It's just not nice. Wouldn't you say? It's just not. It's just not good practice to do that. I mean, I guess why
I'm
mess with
assuming
it?
she's doing it for their benefit.
Yeah, like there's a misspelled word or something.
Yeah, or like she thinks like I can make a more compelling headline, which maybe she could. Like I think she's just being nice.
Yes, but in the long run, you're saying it's not worth spending the time on doing it because that's somebody else's content, not yours.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I got to pull this up because this is funny. She goes, "Oh, the sighs," because we knew what she was going to say, and she sighed it and let everybody know. So very.
I feel
cool.
like I wasn't the only one.
Right. Exactly. So we would love for you guys to know what you guys think of this new feature that is rolling out, and it's very, very awesome that we got the customer service team here to talk about it, and it's very awesome that we kind of heads up on this one, and so this is rolling out. I mean, I haven't seen this reported anywhere. So last question, would this help? This is from Mama Joe, who loved his eyes. She goes, it may help overcome account engagement. She's asking, would this help? And we've kind of talked about it. This is another place for Pinterest SEO. You would agree, all of you. So
Yes.
this is very
Absolutely.
important. Do not ignore this.
Do not.
Yeah.
And we'll.
So I think it's like two ways there, right? So on the one hand, it gives Pinterest more context and more keywords to work out like where we should show this in search. On the other hand, it's going to increase your click-through rate because people will be able to see very easily like why they should click, and they'll click.
Right. So one thing I want to ask is just for me. So just like we saw when I was doing the example, Pinterest, Tailwind has some fail safes to keep goofballs like me from, putting the wrong thing up. So will Tailwind let you schedule a pin without a title now?
They
No.
will not. It's
Okay,
actually going forward.
Right.
So you have to have your title.
Very cool. That is good to know. So if you're like, why isn't this working? It's probably because you don't have a title. So double check that. And that's very cool. Thanks guys so much for being here today. You guys are always so awesome with your founts of information. And we want to make sure you guys do not forget to go to bit.ly/Pinterest Toolkit to download 16 free templates in either Photoshop file format or in easel, which is awesome. You can get this for inspiration, but it's based on all what Pinterest says works. And we're all about what Pinterest works with that. Elisa, I always let you have the last word, but today I'm going to let Johnny do it. So Johnny, you have the last word for today. So what would you like to tell everybody who's watching?
Well, I just really want to thank just everyone for the opportunity and for tuning in, because these are really valuable insights. I mean, I come in here and I learn a lot from just hearing you all speak about it. So it really is nice to be able to have an opportunity to talk about different features that Tailwind has, learn more about Pinterest, and just get you guys more educated on how you can be more successful with your businesses or blogs or whatever you're doing. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in.
Awesome. And with that, that's our show. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. Thanks for everybody at Tailwind for showing up. And we will see you guys next time. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.